Thank you for joining us. You are watching the Sedelia and Jai Show. I am your host, Sedelia and Jai. We are chatting tonight with Mike Truth, founder of the Darkroom Session series and the Beyond the 5 Minute series. As soon as we get Mike back into the chat, we can. Mike, as soon as you log back in, go ahead and send your request. Oh, I think he's already way ahead of me. Um, I'm getting a request from Flight 654. Why are you? What's going on here? Who sent that request? I don't know. Is that Tom, Tammy, Dami, Mike? Who is sending this? All right, Mike. As soon as we get you back in, we'll go ahead and wait for him to join us. I don't see him in the live. Oh, there we go. All right. All right, Mike. Go ahead and send your request. Perfect.
I am back.
Thank you. Thank you. I am back. Thank you so much. Again, you guys, thank you for joining us and tuning back in with us. Again, we're here with Mike Truth. And we are getting ready to talk about why men ain't shit, I guess. Or that's what people believe. How do you feel about this derogatory phrase, Mike?
Ouch. Shit.
Yeah.
Ouch.
I'm sure you're tired of hearing it by now.
Ouch. Man ain't shit. That for me is like when people basically say that comment, like there's so many layers to that. For a person to I think for a person to consider another person ain't shit, I believe that sometimes it's just a matter of their expectations, like them being highly disappointed in what they were expecting to get, and those expectations not being lived up to, the standards being.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when you get disappointed, then obviously that there's emotions that come with that, and when a person say man ain't shit, for me I usually basically ask them like, well, why, like why is it? And it often ends up because they had either uncommunicated expectations or just ill communicated expectations.
Okay.
Yes.
And and I really didn't really want to do this, but I have to ask a little, just because I noticed. I'm like, I noticed that that in other culture, like in communities outside of the Black community,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't a phrase that you hear often.
Mm-hmm.
I think that like universally, women, of course, we all like have moments like, why are men such a-holes? Like we universally, this happens. But
Yeah.
I've never heard someone in the Caucasian community or the Asian community say, yeah, men ain't shit. Like I've never heard that. So, what are your thoughts on that? Why do you think that this has become an acceptable phrase in the African, I was going to say African American, clearly in the Black community, because we're covering all Africans and Caribbeans and all everybody. You Black, you Black. No, why do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely.
Have you had the same observation?
Of course, like I think like when you look at that, you have to look at what the driving force for a family is. Usually, we live mostly in a very capitalistic society, so people are often based, and this is from my perspective, people are often based on the amount of income that they bring primarily. Like that's on a subconscious level.
Okay.
And I think that it has something to do with the income that would almost say that the income structure. And I explain myself like this: when you look at the top earners, like based on race, it's not usually basically like African Americans or Black in general. It's mostly like others, like Black men are usually at the bottom of like that the income pole. And what that happens now is that what happens with that is you find people, like a lot of Black men, chasing this goal of primarily getting our finances correct,
Mm-hmm.
before either entertaining a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And usually there comes a certain disturbance within that, meaning that men ain't shit because emotionally, well, and this is like,
They're unavailable emotionally.
we're unavailable because like we are striding towards a goal that's not involving
Financial
a
drive,
financial goal.
because the structure of society has made it that it's very difficult for a black man to be financially independent.
Exactly, and so basically, like, we don't really usually have time for romanticism or like those type of emotional connections, because we have to at least ensure that we have shelter, food, and all those other things that's needed for survival primarily, and then cater to those needs. But it's so ingrained within
Yeah.
society.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so that makes sense. I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That yeah, or other like races and other, again, each race has their own struggle. But I'm saying, let's say I'm just going to use the Caucasian race just for the sake of, okay. Yeah, that I was thinking about this moment in college. I went to a historically black college, CAU, and I remember one of my professors told me the importance, like helped me understand part of what I really loved about going to a historically black college is that we were able to learn about life and the world, but in a safe space. We didn't have to worry about competing or trying to outdo or outwork, or we didn't have to constantly prove ourselves, right? So we were able to focus purely on the information and the education, which is beautiful. But she said something along the lines of, it's, of course it's to be expected that we're like struggling. And we think about, I know a lot of times people talk about generational wealth, or like Caucasian parents set their children up for success. And even like children in the black community, if we see a black person have a different experience, it's because their parents set them up for success. That when they graduate from college, they already have an apartment that the parents own to put them in. They don't have debts. Their parents were probably able to pay for their tuition out of pocket. They've saved and planned for that. So when you don't have to worry about where you're going to live, you don't have to worry about paying off your debts. You can focus purely on the education and then be able to get the ideal job. You don't have all these other factors. You're not trying to survive. Exactly. You are past surviving. You are able to now thrive and succeed.
There you go.
And that just made me think about what you said, that perhaps, this disadvantage is an interesting, it may be part of the reason why there's this fundamental difference in, why we might say black men ain't shit. Other male counterparts from other races, they are kind of already set up for success in a way that allows them to have time to be romantically involved.
Exactly. There's other factors too, because so that for me, that's like the first level, the base layer of it. And then the second layer of it is just in the mentorship on how to interact in in these type of relationships. Because when you look at basically like culture as a whole, blackness is very fetishized and very like sexualized.
Yes.
So being basically like black male as well, society has its set ideals and standards that it wants people to strive towards. And when you look at the way the Western culture in which we live in, where a lot of women would say man is shit, and also in Africa too, I guess, right? But when you look at the way society has constructed itself, a lot of our relationships are very traumatic and very, very like in nature, like the way we interact sexually, like we even fetishize our own selves. So without that proper boundary teaching and boundary setting and how we should interact, so now when you basically it's just this expectation that's expected of you to marriage, that's like like the ultimate goal that people may cast upon you, or just be with a woman. But there's a way to be with a woman. You have to learn to understand the person. You have to basically learn to allow the person to speak, you to speak as well, find that synergistic ground. So we oftentimes we are basically like introduced to relationships through sex, and we know in a very harsh way. So
as opposed to friendship.
Exactly, as opposed to friendship, and and that those boundary setting type of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so I find that that all plays into it. So when you like societally, you don't have the financial roots to allow you to, you know, properly like not worry about that, and then now explore other sides of your being, which it might be your emotions, or, you know, just who you are as a being.
Mm-hmm.
Then you know, there comes all these blocks. So financially, and then emotionally, and then after that you build from there. So yeah, there's so many different factors.
And you know, I have two follow-up questions, but I think I want to say, you know, how can we start to try and turn this perception around men ain't shit, Mike? What do you think? How can we concretely try and start turning this image around? I know it will probably take work on both parts, not just men stepping up, which we know is necessary, but also women being maybe supportive. I don't know. We feel like we are all the time,
Yeah,
but
I was
I'm
like,
being unbiased here. I'm trying.
yeah, no, you know, we're not definitely, absolutely.
I'm communicating to
Yes,
understand, not to
that's the
convince.
judge
Right?
was there. I know. No, it's like yes, there's a lot of supportive women,
Yeah.
but that support is being done in the guide of their own understanding of what support should be.
Okay.
So yes, you are. So you have your set definition of what support is. So more question as to, okay, how is it that I can help you? And it is okay for a person not to know themselves, because how can I support you kind of equates to a lot of parents asking like the child, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Hmm.
In a sense where a lot of children may not know, a lot of people may not know how they need the support.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where the love aspect comes in, where this is where you got to, you know, analyze what love is for you. If a parent loves the child, a good parent knows how to mentor and guide. Now, what I'm saying is that I'm not saying you should be out
This
here.
is my definition of a true woman, by the way. That's why I'm laughing.
So I mean, so I'm not saying that, you know, that you should be out here babying like a grown man. However, though, like I take relationships very seriously. So if you are choosing to invest your time into somebody, an investment is you are investing, you're taking your time with somebody, right? So with that investment, that comes you now basically being able to like learn the person and see how they
Guide them.
exactly how to guide them, and you know it goes both ways.
I was
And
gonna say the self-work probably comes into play too. Like, you know, the that person, the male in this situation should take steps towards being self-aware. If we bring
there you
it back to
go.
it's all synchronous, really.
Exactly, and so and like just like you mentioned, and on top of that too, now comes the on, I guess, the like anybody's side, but on the women's side, revisit what your expectations are, because I find that like unfairly, like a lot of sisters, like you said, you know, like I'm being patient, I'm doing this, they have these, you know, like these list of like, if I'm doing this, then you consequently I should be expecting this in return.
Mm.
And life is not always like that. Sometimes
Hmm.
in life, you know, you could do this, but it doesn't equate to that.
I think that's a great general rule just for human interaction. I know that's something I had to struggle with a lot at some point
Mm,
in my life. It's hard to do to just be selfless, to just act in
yes,
selflessness and unconditional love.
yes, and that I believe that, so that on the other side of things. Now, as far as a lot of brothers, definitely we have to basically like sit down with our own selves as well and analyze what it is that we're feeling inside,
Mm-hmm.
getting in touch with it, and being able to find ways for us to also let it out without
Mm-hmm.
basically being violent on ourselves, our environment, and our community, and violent emotionally towards other people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, is that how you try and exercise holding your male counterparts accountable? Is that how you try, like by, you know,
Mm-hmm.
pushing them, you know, what does that look like for you? Pushing them along to learn how to communicate non-aggressively, to feel comfortable enough to have a space where they can open up, or to be like, hey guy, dude, you kind of fucking up right now, yeah, get it together. You know, how do you hold your brothers accountable? Or by creating platforms like Beyond the 5 Minutes, what does that look like for you?
So it goes hand in hand. So practicing what I preach, learning each individual that I'm around.
Yes.
So there are some brothers where the pain is deeply, deeply hidden inside. That maybe by being around others and certain topics being invoked, it might bring out certain emotions that they may not even have known there. And some are very, you could be direct. Yo, boy, you messing up, man. Like that's not the move. So like every individual is different. So how I hold, I try to hold space and like, accountability is, and this is something that my brother Nate he touched on as well. Is with us. It's coming from a space of non-judgment, meaning that I know from on my journey to healing and stopping the bleeding from my part, there was a lot of mistakes that I made along the way. So to also realize that some brothers are also going to make a lot of mistakes, and they're probably going to hurt a lot of other people as well. Right. So really try to minimize, and yeah, it really depends on the individual.
I think there's a lot to be said about presence in general, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but if men are like this, but if a man, just like people in general, they're surrounded by positive or great or just kind of people doing better, showing what better looks like. I mean, I know for a man, if you like macho or anything, you're like, oh, y'all not gonna want me up. I want to be a good man too, like. That's
so true. No, absolutely, absolutely, and for me, I believe in leading by example as well.
Absolutely.
Or like almost from and how I was raised was basically so I was shown, and also I like opportunities were created for me as well to do good. So that's why I like creating these platforms as well to basically encourage more brothers to open up. Because for some brothers, just to having the conversation, just hey, how you doing? That's a big giant step.
But, right. So what's up?
For real. And people in society may not even know that.
Sure.
So, yeah.
And you answered my question. That was kind of my wraparound question. That was like, what is the expectation of man, and is that expectation reasonable or attainable, able to even be met?
The expectation basically like of man to be?
Yeah, of a man, not of mankind, like of a man. Yeah, but you kind of touch on that a little bit, like kind of saying, when we try to help someone, like as women, we maybe are like trying to guide or lead that man in a way that we think is supportive and appropriate, and then we are disappointed because we set these ideas and expectations in our own minds. It's kind of like, I heard this funny story where like women, we love to answer our own questions. Oh, I think it was Kevin Hart or something. It was like, you guys are crazy. Like you ask us and you answer your own questions. You didn't even let us answer.
And that's exactly it. Like oftentimes yeah, man, it's like it's these expectations, like because I bet you, especially like a lot of the people sat down and just really listened. You like a man is speaking either through his actions or his words, but mostly through his actions.
Right. Yeah, you guys are more actionary, I think.
Yes.
But I guess is it too much of an expectation to say we want a man to be consistent, we want a man to be present, we want him to be financially stable, we want him to just be responsible? Are these things that are too much to ask, Mike?
Absolutely not. Those are very reasonable things to ask, because those are goals that as an individual you want to have in your life. So you want to have that, so there's nothing wrong with that. And
yes, it's about the method of understanding or getting to that, this exercising of patience.
Yes, exactly. It is about the method of getting to that. Yes, those are great things to aspire for. Now, don't just take any Joe Blow and throw these expectations on them, because they might.
Right. Exactly. And you don't even know the person. You don't even know if he can handle it enough for you to just be throwing it on him.
There you go. That's seriously. And so that's where the discernment.
I think even you guys talked about it on the flight show with Dami. I think you guys were talking with Time. I can't remember exactly what was said in detail, but I know it's something along the lines of expecting your man maybe to like already have his shit together, as you say, when you meet. I think that like I know for me, I even tell my friends, I try to think of, yes, I think I expect a certain caliber of a man just because of the caliber of woman that I am.
Hey.
It has to match. I'm sorry, I don't understand. But deeper than that, again, I do believe that a woman, for me, a true woman, definition of woman, is to be able to lead in a way that is, you know, like guiding, mentoring, unconditional love and selflessness, which reminds me of this Proverbs prayer, which is what the strength of a woman. What is a woman? There is like a straight up Bible. I'm not a preacher. Proverbs something. I want to say Proverbs 30:31. I want to say
it's Proverbs 31. Like
yeah, it was like what the
first,
definition of a woman.
yeah.
And when I read it, it was such a poem. You know, I'm a poet. It was such a poem in and of itself. This,
Yes.
you know, this verse. I was like, that's yes. Like you are. I know it sucks, women. I know. Why does the weight of the world have to be on us? And why do we have to take all this up? But that's just it. You will be rewarded for that in heaven. Do not expect to be rewarded for that here on this earthly plane. This is not your kingdom. This is not your heaven. You act selflessly and with unconditional love at all times, and you worry about how other people are doing, even if it means you're on the back burner sometimes. This is just one of my beliefs, and you will, don't wait to be rewarded. You will be. God is not going to just straight up watch you suffer like that. I'm so sorry. So this is just my opinion, but
that's very that's, you know, like
I guess, I'm sorry, real quick. I think the point of saying that was for me saying, I tell my friends a lot of times, like, yes, I want a man to be on my caliber, on my level, but I don't fall in love. Timing was right. Don't fall in love with potential. He has to put in his work too, to show that he's, you know, going places in life. But I feel strong enough in myself because I've done the self work or I am doing the self work for when the right man does come, where I am equipped and strong enough in myself to help him see. To help him move forward in his vision that is essentially our vision and going to make our family stronger and our, you know, legacy and all that stuff. So I have every interest in doing that. If that's what I want in my partner, why wouldn't I want to invest, as you say, in doing everything that needs to be done for him to become successful? Because it's going to pay off for me in the end too.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel. And I tell my friends all the time, I'm also getting my shit together. There's no way. I know how hard life is. How can I look at a man and expect him to have all his finances in order, expect him to have his own house, his own everything, when I'm still figuring it out myself?
and honestly, and that's very commendable, because that moves away from that mindset of entitlement, like the negative entitlement.
Sure.
Because, like, if you look at relationship, for me, how I view relationship is being able to build. So you've gotten to a place where you know yourself and you build yourself up, and to also be able to build like another human being up as well.
Sure.
That is one of life's gifts.
Yes.
And so, like, now to have a synergistic flow where two people are doing that, that's just like, you know, that's God right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that you're, you know, if anyone wants to say, well, Mike, what are you actively doing to ensure this effective communication, or this self-awareness, or this, you know, bridging the gaps between, and I think, you know, you've created spaces like Beyond the 5 Minutes and the Darkroom Session. So I know people kind of more or less already know about it, but could you just tell us a little bit about why you finally decided to launch these platforms now, and what, you know, why did you decide to create? We already talked about why you decided to create these spaces, but you know, why did you decide to launch them now, and when were you finally like, all right, I need to put some energy and focus on this?
Oh my goodness. So the Darkroom Session, that one, it was like a divine, like,
Intervention.
Yes, a divine occurrence, because that everything just fell into place. I met Tamika, and Tamika was in need of you know, an open mic space, and at the same time, I've been doing a lot of community work. Once again, I started off like prior to basically like meeting my friend LA, but along with LA, I had a show called the Elephant Room TV, where we tackled the taboo and unspoken topics within the community, and like those were great, awesome conversations. But they needed, like, when we stopped doing them, like they needed to occur. I just noticed that there's a lot of people that walk around with a lot of pent up things inside, And
Mm-hmm.
as far as like, artistry or just being able to just speak, like
Mm-hmm.
so the need for that space. So
Right.
Tamika showed up, and then I saw the space. I was like, okay, then you know what? They part of this event as well, but beyond letting people, release by doing poems or whatever, a person could actually just
Yeah,
come
for
and just
your art. Yeah.
exactly. So like, bring your heart and speak. And so that was it was like a solution to a problem that I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, it's all about being solution oriented. And then
Absolutely.
beyond the 5 minutes, that's just without saying for that. So like,
You were tired of hearing men ain't shit. That's what it was. You
oh
were like,
my
I'm
God,
tired.
whoa, yo, we not even shit. So for that one, actually, an interesting thing about that is, I was walking with a female friend one time, and she was talking about the like who had the worst. Like we were doing almost like the the suffering Olympics between black men and black women, and, and then it's no debate, no doubt that yes, black men suffer a lot, or women suffer a lot. But the thing that came up for me was whenever like a woman is suffering in society, sometimes it could be easier for her to pick up the phone and to call a girlfriend or a friend and say, "Hey, girl, like this is what I'm going through." But as a man, it's very uncomfortable. I cannot just call
Yeah.
any one of my brothers and be like, "Hey, this is what I'm going through." Because like first of all, like
Yeah.
he's like, "Hey, what the like what's going on?" You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like that in itself. Like we need a space where people could just talk.
Mm-hmm.
Out of talking comes a lot of things. So
Absolutely. And I know that you are doing this talking portion to address the issues, but I know you mentioned something about perhaps
yeah,
another date where you'll actually then maybe have workshops to actually tackle and teach
yes,
this, which I think is people want to need to know because it's
mm-hmm.
not too part. We can talk. All we do is we talk a lot,
Exactly. Yeah, we talk a lot.
right?
How do we now show?
Exactly.
Because like we're talking to learn the different perspectives,
Exactly.
and then yes, we're going to be tackling them by basically now being able to give tangible practice
Yeah.
to people.
Probably through workshop series or something like that.
Exactly.
Nice. So you guys be on the lookout for that. Mike, I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight. You guys please tune in to the Darkroom sessions every Monday,
Yes.
Monday night starting at 8 till
Yeah.
late. I told him to put a time on that, late, 8 till late. But we're in there. Then you have your Beyond the 5 Minutes on Sundays at 3 p.m. You guys be sure to check that out and be on the lookout for, again, the second part of this
Yeah.
series, which will probably, again, might be a workshop
Mm-hmm.
setting that will allow us, or men rather, to do the work that needs to be done. Yes?
Exactly, Fidelia. And like I want to thank you so much for having me on this wonderful platform. Like you're an amazing host and you're doing a fantastic job. And
Thank you. I'm so grateful for you, and again, I'm so grateful for the love and support that you've given me, and introducing me to many people who have equally given me that support. You guys know I'm new to Toronto. Well, I guess it's a year now. I'm not new anymore, but yeah, but I'm just so grateful for that, and I'm praying for you. You know, you have my support, and I'm sure we'll have you on the show again in the future. And I am just wishing you the best in your endeavors, and thank you for holding yourself accountable and trying to hold brothers accountable. We need to see more kings like you doing your thing.
always. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right.
All
Good
right.
evening.
Okay, bye. Good evening.
All right, everyone. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Sedalia and Jai show. We are wrapping things up here. We're really grateful to have had Mike onto the show. I will be seeing you guys every Tuesday. And just so that you guys know, I wasn't initially going to announce it, but I guess I can kind of let you know now, because you'll start to see, sponsors that are coming onto the show or that will be a part of the show. So you can now sponsor an episode of the Sedalia and Jai show. Those of you who have a product or who have a business or who have an organization, you can contact me to look at the different packets available for being a sponsor of an episode or several. All right. So I want to thank you guys so much again for joining me. Again, this is the Sedalia and Jai show. Looking forward to seeing you every Tuesday right here on IG Live. Good night.